Hi everyone, today we have questions for the Idaho 4 and Bryan-Kohberger case. So depending how long this goes on for, it might be split because there's a few things I want to cover, and there's definitely a next one that I want to cover that's going to be around in one of the readings. I said that he has definitely some online posts where you can tell he's struggling with his motions, and then a lack of emotions, and realizing he doesn't have emotions and being aware of it and knowing it's unhealthy. And I feel this goes back at least 10 years, so into his teens. So I do want to look into that and see what cards say, because it's come up psychically. So I was also thinking about Dylan, who has apparently had some inconsistencies in his story. And I definitely think that there is something going on there. And I think it's, when I look back, I remember in the psychic readings that I said there was a delay because nothing sinister that they're connected to the crime, but like flush the toilet to make sure there's no rugs, etc. And she's also said in my last reading is that there was an inconsistency, like saying she was totally out of it, drunk, etc. And then a witness had said she wasn't drinking that night. And then a part of the video, the body cam that's come up around the house, I didn't watch it all, but I caught a part where she said she was so tired and trying to remember something. So, and I've said in one of my readings, there was definitely rugs in that house. And I think they would have found some in the rooms, but they're not letting out a lot of information. So I'm also going to give some more predictions on this case. So I would catch up on the readings if you're interested. I feel like when you put out new readings, people think that the other one is like expired, it's not valid, but it's all tying in. And what else did I want to say around that? Oh, because I also got that a third party that the defense could have brought in, which would have, I believe, they could have had, I don't know if they could track, because rug dealers, etc., don't really allow to be tracked. But they maybe could have seen from a neighbour's body cam that you know, a dark-skinned man and a orange hair or very light brunette hair, a woman, could have been third-party suspects in this. So if you want to go back to those psychic readings. Now, if you are enjoying for us to continue on the Bryan-Kohberger, please comment. I do a poll in on my community page, so you can always comment there. And members, you know, I've put a separate poll for you to choose what you're interested in. Got a lot I want to cover on the Delphi case as well, so if that's something you're interested in, it doesn't mean that we have to agree, but by either the psychic intuitive things that come through, or even assessing, it's understanding stuff. So I understand that when BK was arrested, he asked like, who else has been arrested? And obviously that's like, is it because there's others involved? Is it because he's worried that his parents were arrested? Or is it because he wants to know how to play the game of going forward, if he's the only one arrested or not arrested? And I feel like it pertains to two, but one primary, the other more secondary, and the other not really so much. So let's have a look at, I also saw a flash on my screen that this must have been years ago. a camera of his apartment, which I've flagged to watch later. I haven't seen it, but I think it must have been like a few years ago. So you all might have seen it, but I'm interested to see that. So let's see. Did he ask who else was arrested? One, the top line is going to be because of knowing others are involved. And we're going to take 2 cards per one. And then the second is the parents. And the third, I'm going to ask, is it because he wanted to know how to play the game? So the first one is others involved. I get not quite. It's like he wanted, it relates to the third reason. He wanted to know how to play the game, but I've put separate cards for that, so I'm going to see what turns up there. But it seems like it ties into confusing the officers in terms of there should be someone else arrested. For them to think, for him to say that, it's like you really should have other people arrested in this, and so to cause some confusion. Was it for concern of his parents? No, it wasn't so much concern of his parents. It was to see if they were targeting only one person in this crime, or and where, if they were being truthful. And the last one is it because he wanted to know how to play the game if there was other suspects versus if it's only him? And here I get being the mastermind of it, so yes. And also something about the communication on how he needs to present, which needs to slow down or not communicate. So maybe at this stage is where he says he'd want a lawyer. So it looks like number 1 and number 3 on that tie-in. Number 1 being trying to cause some confusion on others being involved, and the last one, knowing how to play the game. So there was apparently, so I've got screenshots here, so I must have taken screenshots towards something, but in the same area there was apparently a case that remained unsolved, which happened in the basement apartment. A woman had seen a person in all black, she chased him off, and it's unsolved. So we're going to see if the cards say if it was BK or not. So I get a yes. I get a yes that this could have been BK, and I do get that law enforcement did think that this could be a parallel case, and to investigate who did the either one would be the to sort of link them, and what suspect they get for that case or this case, because the other one I think they was just like it's unsolved. Could be, so they investigate, they would have tried to investigate or tie, thinking that BK would be the one for this as well. Or, you know, what I'm trying to say is basically when they're investigating that this is likely to be the same exa. Okay, And then we go on, got so much about Delphi. So apparently something came out that he had done a lot of searches around Christmas Day, and people saying because Christmas, etc. I don't think it ties into that. I think he was just doing searches. It happens to be Christmas Day. I don't think there's anything significant to that day. And he was searching stuff like how long to stay free, SK kind of searches, and other stuff. I don't think it's Christmas Day related. But by Christmas Day, did he think he'd got away with it? Yes. He was confident that he might have got away with it. It seems like he'd been waiting for a while, but he felt like there was no movement, although initially he was watching. I get here he was watching a lot of the movement. So let's see, was he also still in and out, apart from, so take out Christmas Day, you know, one day he could be feeling this, the next day he could be feeling something else. Was he still kind of, was there a bit of paranoia that he could be caught any moment? Yes, straight out as well, so we get that as well. So I think he was toing and going and coming. I also think that he might have thought that his parents might be called up at one stage. Was he doing this research, planning his next Xing? So, you know, to get better data, to assess, to do a case study. This research that they found around Christmas Day, if it was planning to do his next one. It wasn't so much he was going to do it straight away, it was in the long term. So it was just getting knowledge, getting like a data bank in him, but it wasn't that he was starting already and in a few days he would have done it. No, it was more so for the long term research, etc. for doing it. I want to ask, was he ruminating on things that he could have done better and things realizing he did a bit of some bloopers? So was he researching on ways to do things better? And kind of like ruminating. Was he going through rumination? I'm saying that because I feel that strongly, like he was in some kind of rumination. So I get here, let's just remind myself of this. I think it's to do with jealousy and rage, on the better way to handle that, so that doesn't take over his emotions and his rage. I just want to see the Queen of Wands in reverse. There's a particular word that might just come up, but I feel that that's what I'm getting with that card. Yeah, jealousy. So it's trying to look at a better way of handling, you know, making it more covert, jealousy, the rage there of when he might be confronted. So this might go back to where it does go back to Spirit is saying I'm right. He sees Dylan and Dylan sees him and he just walks away. So it's about the rumination on that and the way he can probably handle that in a better way. Okay, so now we're going to look at some more inconsistencies inconsistencies. So, you know, you hear screaming, you see a man twice masked, you hear someone say, I'm here for you, and there's running up and down the stairs and there's a squabble, yet you don't think something is wrong, but then you do think something is wrong, but you don't do anything about it. So I don't doubt, because I see it, Dylan sees him. I don't doubt her in that. Yeah. I do think she was on rugs that evening. I get my confirmation. So could this be the reason for her, like, saying one time, I'm drunk, I'm so out of it, and then, yeah, it's slight inconsistencies. You know, they clearly had party rugs in that house, and I wonder if that will ever come out. I'm going to tell you a couple of the predictions that I have on this. I think I've just seen that Kohberger is having problems at prison and he's asking to be moved. I think in the last reading I mentioned that, but I think what might be being said is we need to question on whether that's the truth, or because I feel like he's heard about another block or jail area where either he has more space, it's not as crammed, and it could be an individual cell for his type of crime, which is, you know, that's it, there for life, or there's someone there that he wants to try and talk to, because I dare say that a lot of it might be around up the butt kind of stuff. So I want to ask, did the prosecution, were they planning on lying on something, or was it because the police had something not straight? Because I do get that energy, but I want to see what the cards say. Regardless, I believe it is a lie, but I feel like it's because of the police that it turns into a lie. So let's see what the cards. We get a sword of truth. Okay, we do get a sword of truth. We get the Five of Pentacles that came in challenge. So something about the outside area, which reminds me of, I said in the last reading, I'm waiting for them to see what they say about the footprints in the snow. And something around the long-term strategy. And also, I'm getting told by Spirit, this is also around drug dealers. So something that was supposed to be in the long run. Yes, and it would have been presented as a lie. So we didn't get a strong major arcana, but it's because the police manipulated something. Something was not done in the correct manner, and that comes especially down to framing one person, Kohberger, basically, obviously, and ignoring other people. What was that word I wanted to say? But strong manipulation that occurred in this case, which tells me, again, going back to some cover-up. By the way, are any of you interested? There's a case that's going to come up. It's Sheriff Steins and Judge Mullins, I think. And I want to do a reading on that. To be honest, I find it very difficult reading because I don't want to say something that everyone's not going to like, because obviously someone did something for someone's life to go. But if you see so much really bad stuff, and then possibly your daughter's in that, or they're trying to attempt to reach your daughter, I don't know any father that would not go in there. And when I tap in, I feel like the judge actually wound him up. Instead of like calming him down, he wound him up even more by kind of like trying to say, do you know when you're angry and someone's like, will you just calm down, there's no reason to be angry, and you're like, are you effing kidding me? It rattles you even more. And I get that very strongly psychically when I tap into that. So that is a case that I do want to watch, but I was wondering whether we do like a reading and true facts to cover the case, or whatever comes through to me. So I do feel when I was looking at some of the body cam that there was so much revenge and rage energy, and I got that in my psychic channeling as well, and it was coming through. I do want to say more secrets are going to be coming out on this. And the police were not told everything on that body cam. They were not told everything. And I said this in the first read. Although they did act shocked, but there is a lack of what the police were told on that day. Whether the police eventually got it or not, there's certain things that they were not told, that I think could have navigated this case a little bit. I do think that there's going to be a cop, there could be a chief that's going to be under scrutiny, and if not, in trouble, okay? And it could be a couple of them. I do think that there's someone in the justice system that is holding things back. They don't want it to be out. And I also see someone who's extremely angry about something. And when I say there's more shocking information, there is more shocking information to come out. More exposure of the secrecies around this case as well. I do think we're going to hear something around the secrecy of some money. And it could be like money gained from ways that the person doesn't want you to know. And like I said earlier in this part, that I believe there's going to be something around the rugs coming up. But the money is not used in the way that they want it to be known. I do think we're going to see more on BK footage, possibly BK in prison. I'm actually interested in the phone calls with his mother. Is anyone else? I hope they do release that. But there's going to be more about his mental breakdown, sleepless nights, more footage about him. There could be something that comes up, or rumors on that he's now on a certain medication, medicated like rugs, and the troubles that he's having in prison. That I do believe there's going to be more of that coming up. I've got here my predictions, which I need to record. I wanted to ask, have they always had the right Elantra as the suspect? So they've had BK as a suspect, the Elantra, which belongs to BK, but have they always tracked the right one? Because I feel like there's something different with BK's Elantra that's so tiny that I feel like they could have at one stage just like swerved to another Elantra and then swerved back to BK's Elantra. Let's have a look. I do get that they swerved. The reason I get that is because I get a confirmation that they've had the Elantra, which they believe is the person who did the killing, but I get JS here as well. So I don't know what car he had, but it seems like they at one stage felt this Elantra belonged to JS, but that seemed to go nowhere. And then out of the blue, it's kind of like they realized something that was hidden came to light. It took a while though, and there was a lot of confusion around this Elantra. I've said about this in the first place, so that's very strange for me to get that. Obviously some questions that I'm asking is because I psychically feel these questions could be something. Okay, so that's a bit strange. They were not rushing at first towards the right Elantra or white Elantra. Were they worried? So something else that I wrote here was, I feel like they were a bit paranoid that this SK is tapping into either they're hacking their emails, their radio, or has someone that could do that. I feel like there was a bit of paranoia, and so they were trying to keep things under extreme wraps. Let's see that. Would that be correct, Spirit? Yes, but something with a but. All right, so yes, yes, but the more primary thing here is, like, it seems like the two states were in communication. So something about that is what made them paranoid. So I don't know if they were worried that one state would not look at it the way they did or would leak some information. It seems like they were worried about the opposite state. So I dare say it was it Washington and Pennsylvania, or was it Idaho and Moscow, something like that. Although they were in contact, it seems like they were worried one party, one of them, would communicate the information to the wrong people, or it would get out, and it would get out really, really fast. That was the primary worry, as opposed to the person, the killer, like spying or tapping into them. But that was the main worry there. So they took a long time to arrest in the last reading, I said. And I wonder, I also said that the lead lacked some experience in something which caused this, not caused it, but something didn't go as the best way it did. Please do check that reading out so that I'm not repeating. And also psychically, it's very difficult to remember what I got without like exactly what I got, so I might interpret what I remember and miss some stuff. So do check that out, because I did cover that. So did they lack any confidence, or were they just trying to be very thorough because of the magnitude of this crime? So firstly, did they lack confidence? Okay, so there was a lacking of confidence. There was a bit of naivety. There was a bit of naivety here. Let's have a look a minute. There's a word I want, and it's around the actual victims ending, the, you know, the actual Xing the victims' bodies. So they felt like there could be some duplicity and Ten of Swords, Knight of Cups. Like trickery, swindling energy, and a lack of working together, and the confirmation of lack of confidence, which caused this. So they felt like, obviously, there might be some people that might swing and think like, this is a major case, we're not going to work together. Their way of maybe making their name for themselves. Remember, I'm asking, did the law enforcement lack confidence? Would be by not working with themselves together. And I think it really reverts back to the 3 states, but then also Pennsylvania is involved in this. So really, it sort of trickery energy and subtleness that caused the lack of confidence, and the possibility that it was this magnitude of a, we want to say SK, but in matter of fact, when I was doing the readings on prosecution defense, it was like, you can label it as a mass redrum, right? Redrum is the backwards. So were they also, would it be right that they were just trying to do thorough due diligence and maybe wait on DNA, etc., before they really targeted and arrested earlier? Major Arcana to confirm this one, that's all I need. I get my confirmation, but it's in a tricky situation. It's a bit of a no. It was like they were waiting, but I get JS again. It seems like it's not getting shown in the reports, but they really felt like some people felt JS needed to be investigated more. Maybe this is where the 2 states didn't align, because there was power and privilege in my last reading, remember? If not, you need to check that out. And I feel like one state really wanted to just, you know, boot that side of it out, JS, and one really wanted to work on it. So yes, kind of do their thorough due diligence, but I think the top, where I said about the what I just said in terms of, it really comes, it seems like the states are, there's a worry that one state will leak information, and then in this one it's about Pennsylvania as well, so we're getting that. I think what I'm going to do is end this one here, and in the next one I'll cover more. So if you did enjoy this, do let me know, and comment, like, share, subscribe. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for joining the reading. Bye.